The human child's scream shattered the ceremonial silence of the throne spire like a jagged blade through crystal. Every guardian in the hall froze mid-step, weapons half drawn, sensors locked on the small figure that had somehow bypassed 17 security checkpoints to stand before Empress Zathura herself. "Table 2, please!" The child shrieked again, her voice raw with panic. "They need help at Table 2!" The Empress, whose mere presence had ended wars and whose word had toppled dynasties, remained motionless on her obsidian throne. Her 4 eyes narrowed, luminescent and unreadable. The child couldn't have been more than 6 solar cycles old, dressed in stained serving clothes that reeked of burnt protein and desperation. Captain Velknox of the Royal Guard kept his particle rifle steady, aimed at center mass, but his primary hand made the subtlest gesture, a signal his subordinates recognized instantly. "Hold position."
"Observe. The child wasn't armed."
Her hands trembled as she clutched a crumpled order tablet, its screen flickering with what appeared to be restaurant coordinates. Tears streaked through grime on her face, but her eyes held something the captain had seen in 1,000 battlefields, the absolute certainty of someone who believed they were already dead. "Table 2, she whispered this time, her voice breaking. "Please." "They're dying." Zathura leaned forward, and the temperature in the hall seemed to plummet. Her scales, each one harder than starship hull plating, rippled with colors that cycled through the spectrum of threat assessment. The child should have been vaporized the moment she entered restricted airspace. Should have been detected by scanners that could identify a single bacteria's DNA signature from orbit. Should have been impossible. Yet here she stood. "Speak clearly, human offspring," the Empress said, her voice like grinding continental plates. "You interrupt the concord of 17 worlds to request a table?" The child's legs buckled, but she didn't fall. "My mom runs the restaurant on level 47 of the refugee district. Table 2 has a family. Kryn settlers, I think, and they ordered the special. But the protein synthesizer is broken and we served them real meat by accident, and now they're going into anaphylactic shock and the medical stations won't come because we're not registered citizens, and I ran. The child's mouth snapped shut. She swayed on her feet. Velknox watched the Empress with the intensity of someone who had served her for 40 cycles. He recognized this particular stillness. It preceded either mercy or annihilation, and no one could predict which until it arrived. "You breached Imperial security," Zathura continued, "violated 17 protocols, and risked execution to save strangers of a species that is not your own. They're people. Little kids." The Empress rose. She stood 3 times the height of the tallest human, her form designed by evolution for apex predation on a world where everything either killed or was killed. The assembled diplomats from the 17 worlds pressed themselves against the walls, their various survival instincts screaming at them to flee. But Zathura moved past them all, her massive clawed feet silent on the polished floor despite her bulk. She stopped before the child, who tilted her head back and back until she could see the Empress's face. "Your name, human offspring." Maya Chen. Maya Chen." The Empress tested the syllables like she was examining a weapon. "You understand that the protocol you have shattered exists to prevent assassinations, coups, and terrorist actions that could destabilize this entire sector. You understand that the penalty for such violations is immediate termination?" Maya nodded, though fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "And yet you came anyway. Every second I'm here talking is a second they don't have. So if you're going to kill me, please do it after you send someone to help them. Please." Velknox's comm unit chirped softly in his ear. His second-in-command's voice was tight with confusion. "Captain, medical scanners confirm a mass casualty event at the coordinates the child provided. Kryn family, severe allergic reaction to mammalian proteins. They'll be dead in 3 minutes without intervention." He'd seen the Empress face down armadas and never flinch, but he'd never seen her face down a child before. Zathura reached down with one massive claw. Maya closed her eyes, trembling. The Empress's claw gently touched the child's shoulder. "Captain Velknox," she said quietly, "dispatch emergency medical to level 47 immediately. Full trauma team. Authorization code Crimson Absolute." "Yes, Empress." He was already signaling. "And Captain? Ma'am? Find out how this child penetrated our security. Every system, every guard, every automated defense that failed to stop her. I want names and explanations within the hour." "Fast enough. Probably." Maya opened her eyes, staring up at the Empress in disbelief. "You're helping them." "I am the Scourge of 100 worlds," Zathura said softly, her voice carrying to every corner of the silent hall. "I have burned planets and shattered moons. Entire species speak my name as a curse. But you, small human, You ran through fire and death to save strangers. She paused, and something that might have been respect flickered in her luminescent eyes. Perhaps it is time I learned from you what it means to be truly fearsome. The child swayed, adrenaline finally abandoning her to exhaustion and shock. Before she could fall, Velnox was there, catching her with practiced ease. She weighed almost nothing in his secondary arms. The family at table 2, Maya mumbled, consciousness fading. Are they going to be okay? Zathuru's comm chimed. Her medical officer's voice crackled through. Emergency intervention successful, Empress.
All patients stabilized. They'll make full recoveries.
You hear that, young Maya? The Empress said, though the child was already unconscious. You saved them. A Scourge destroys. But today, you showed us what creation looks like. She turned to face the assembled diplomats, her expression unreadable. The Concord of 17 Worlds will resume tomorrow. Today we have more important matters to address. Velnox cradled the sleeping child, this tiny human who had achieved the impossible. What would you have me do with her, Empress? Zathura gazed at Maya for a long moment, her massive form somehow gentle. When she wakes, we talk. About courage. About protocol. About what it means to be truly powerful. She gestured to the throne room, to the weapons and guards and centuries of conquest that surrounded them. All of this, she said quietly, and I have never done anything as brave as what this child did today. The Empress who had conquered worlds was learning from a human child who had conquered her own fear. And Captain? Zathura added. Send a construction team to level 47. That restaurant is now under Imperial protection. Any establishment that produces citizens like this one deserves better than a broken protein synthesizer. Yes, Empress. As Velnox carried Maya toward the medical wing, he glanced back once. Zathura stood alone in her throne room, surrounded by the symbols of her power, staring at the crumpled order tablet the child had dropped. The screen still flickered with the simple words, Table 2, Kryn Family Special. The Scourge of 100 Worlds picked up the tablet with careful claws, handling it like it was made of spun glass. Then she did something Velnox had never witnessed in 40 cycles of service. The Empress smiled. Maya woke to soft light and softer sheets, neither of which she recognized. Panic hit first. The restaurant, the customers. Her mother would be frantic, but when she tried to sit up, a gentle hand on her shoulder stopped her. Easy, little one. The voice belonged to someone she couldn't see, someone whose species she didn't recognize.
You're in the Imperial Medical Wing. You're safe.
Table 2 recovered completely, thanks to you. The medic moved into view, a being made of what looked like flowing water held in a vaguely humanoid shape. You triggered the fastest emergency medical response in Imperial history. The Kryn family is asking to meet you when you're ready. Maya's mind raced, memories flooding back. The throne room, the Empress, the guards who should have killed her. Am I under arrest? You're a guest of the Empress. The medic's voice rippled with what might have been amusement. Though I suspect you're the first guest to ever arrive by violating every security protocol in existence. Before Maya could respond, the door opened. Captain Velnox entered, his imposing form somehow less frightening in the medical bay's gentle light. He carried a tray with food that actually smelled edible, unlike the ration packs her mother could afford. Empress Zathura requests your presence when you've recovered sufficiently, he said formally. Then, more quietly, the Kryn children made you something. A thank you gift. I took the liberty of scanning it for hazards, protocol, you understand, but it's safe. He set down a small object wrapped in colorful paper. Maya unwrapped it with trembling fingers to find a carved wooden figure of a human child with arms spread wide, painted in bright primary colors. They called it the Brave One, Velnox said. They wanted you to know that their parents are alive because you ran when anyone sensible would have hidden. Maya clutched the figurine, tears spilling again. She'd been so certain she would die. So certain that no one would listen, that the guards would shoot first and never ask questions. But she'd run anyway because Table 2 had children, and those children deserved parents, and... Everyone says the Empress is... She's conquered so many places. Hurt so many people. Why would she care about one table in one restaurant? Velnox settled into a chair designed for beings much smaller than himself, his movements careful and deliberate. I've served Zathura for 40 cycles. I've seen her make decisions that saved billions and decisions that ended millions, and I've never claimed to fully understand her. He paused, considering his words. But I think perhaps she saw in you something she'd forgotten. something that conquest and power had buried. You weren't trying to win a war or prove a point or gain power. You just wanted to save people who needed saving. There was no politics in it, no strategy, just goodness. Maya looked down at the carved figure in her hands. I was so scared. I thought I was going to die. Courage isn't the absence of fear, the captain said. It's moving forward despite terror. You demonstrated more true bravery in those moments than most soldiers show in entire careers. The medic finished checking various monitors, their watery form pulsing with satisfied colors. Emotionally, you'll probably need some time to process what you've been through. We have counselors available if... I need to see my mom, Maya interrupted. She must be so worried. And the restaurant... We can't afford to close, not even for a day, and... Your mother's in the waiting area, Velknox said gently. She's been here since we retrieved you. As for the restaurant, the Empress has made certain arrangements. What kind of arrangements? Perhaps it's better if the Empress explains herself. If you're willing to meet with her? Maya's heart hammered. The idea of facing Zathura again, that massive being who could crack planets with her military might, terrified her. But the Empress had saved Table 2, had sent help when Maya had no right to expect mercy. Okay, she said quietly. They let her see her mother first. The reunion involved a lot of crying and hugging and apologies on both sides. Her mother, a thin woman worn down by years of struggle on a world that barely acknowledged her existence, held Maya like she'd never let go. Don't you ever do anything like that again, she sobbed. When the guards came asking about you, when they said you'd breached Imperial security, I thought, I'm sorry, Mom. But the Kryn family, they were dying, and the medical stations wouldn't come, and I didn't know what else to... Her mother pulled back, looking into Maya's eyes with an expression of pride mixed with terror. Your father would have done the same thing. Run toward danger to help someone. It got him killed, too. Maya hadn't known her father well. He died when she was 4. Something about a mining accident that the corporations never properly investigated. But she remembered his hands, always scarred from helping neighbors repair equipment they couldn't afford to replace. The Empress wants to see me, Maya said. Her mother's face went pale. Maya? The captain, he's been kind. And she did send help. She's still the Scourge. She's still the being who... Her mother stopped, glancing at Velknox, who waited patiently near the door. Promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. The walk to wherever the Empress waited took them through corridors Maya had only seen in propaganda vids. Polished stone, living walls, covered in bioluminescent plants, automated defense systems that tracked them with invisible sensors. Velknox kept a steady pace, not too fast, giving Maya time to absorb her surroundings. How did I get past all the security, she asked suddenly. The captain's expression darkened. That's what I've spent the last several hours investigating. The short answer is, you shouldn't have. The long answer involves system failures, guard rotations with gaps, and a maintenance tunnel that was incorrectly logged as sealed. You slipped through holes that should never have existed. Are people going to be punished? Some already have been, reassigned to positions where their failures can't compromise Imperial security. He glanced down at her. But the Empress also instituted new protocols. If someone breaches security while clearly unarmed and requesting help rather than attacking, guards are now authorized to assess before shooting. You've changed how we operate, little Maya. They arrived at a door carved from single piece of amber, 20 feet tall and covered in symbols Maya couldn't read. Velknox placed his hand on a scanner and the door swung open silently. The room beyond wasn't a throne room. It was something smaller, more intimate. A garden, enclosed, but open to artificial sunlight that mimicked a G-type star's warmth. Zathura stood among flowering plants that reached toward her like children seeking attention. Thank you, Captain, she said without turning. Please wait outside. Velknox bowed and retreated, leaving Maya alone with the Empress. For a long moment, neither spoke. Maya watched as Zathura's claws, each one capable of rending starship armor, delicately pruned a flower that had grown too wild. Do you know why I maintain this garden? The Empress finally asked. No, ma'am. Because conquest is simple. Destruction is easy. Any fool with sufficient firepower can burn a world. She turned, her 4 eyes focusing on Maya with uncomfortable intensity. But creation, growth? Those require patience, wisdom, the understanding that some things cannot be forced, only nurtured. Maya didn't know what to say, so she stayed quiet. I have conquered 97 worlds, Zathura continued. I have commanded fleets that numbered in the thousands. Billions of beings know my name, and most of them speak it with fear or hatred. She moved closer, each step deliberate and slow. But you, child of a species I barely noticed during my campaigns, you accomplished yesterday what I have never managed. I was prepared to destroy you. The protocols exist for a reason, to prevent exactly the kind of breach you accomplished.
My guards expected execution orders. The diplomats expected a demonstration of power.
But you helped instead. I helped because you reminded me of something I'd forgotten. Something I lost somewhere between my 100th conquest and my 1000th negotiation. Zathura's voice softened. You reminded me that power without purpose is just noise, that true strength lies in choosing to protect rather than destroy. Maya clutched the carved figurines still in her hands. I didn't mean to teach you anything. I just wanted to save the people at table 2. Exactly. The Empress's scales rippled through colors Maya was learning to read. This one seemed to indicate satisfaction. No ulterior motive, no political calculation. Just simple, pure compassion. Do you know how rare that is among beings who wield any kind of power?
I don't have power. You penetrated the most secure facility in this sector.
You stood before me, a being who has killed thousands in single battles, and demanded I help strangers. You risked certain death for people you'd never met. Zathura's laugh was like distant thunder. Child, you have more power than you understand. The power to change minds, to inspire action, to make even an empress question her path. Maya thought about this, turning the carved figure over in her hands. What happens now? Do I go home? Does the restaurant... Your home has been relocated to Level 9, residential sector. Far better conditions, registered citizenship, full access to medical facilities and education. The Empress held up a claw before Maya could protest. Not charity, payment for services rendered. You identified a critical security flaw and demonstrated the kind of moral courage I wish to see more of in this empire. And the restaurant? Fully repaired, upgraded, and granted an imperial license? Your mother will have customers, good ones, who pay fairly. I've assigned a diplomatic liaison to handle paperwork and ensure no bureaucrat decides to make her life difficult. Zathura tilted her massive head. But I have a request if you're willing. Maya's pulse quickened. What kind of request? Come work for me. Not now, you're far too young. But when you're ready, when you've grown and learned and decided what kind of person you want to be, I would like you to join my advisory council. Your what? Huh. I surround myself with generals and diplomats and strategists. People who understand power and politics and war. What I lack is people who understand what you demonstrated yesterday. The Empress leaned closer. I need advisors who will tell me when I'm wrong, who will run toward danger to save the helpless, who remember that the purpose of power is to protect, not to dominate. Maya stared at this massive being, this conqueror of worlds, and saw something unexpected in those luminescent eyes. Hope. I'm just a kid from a restaurant. You're the child who made the Scourge of 100 worlds remember her honor. Zathura rose to her full height. Think on my offer. You have years to decide. But know this, Maya Chen. You've already changed the Empire. Whether you join my council or not, the protocols you forced me to examine, the questions you made me ask myself, they will ripple outward. Security reform? Medical access expansion? Citizenship pathways for refugees. Because I ran to save Table 2? Because you proved that compassion can penetrate any defense? That courage requires no weapons. That a child with pure intentions can accomplish what entire armies cannot. The Empress gestured to the garden around them. Every plant here grew from a single seed. Your actions yesterday planted something in this empire. I intend to nurture it carefully and see what grows. Velnox appeared in the doorway, his timing impeccable as always. Empress, the Kryn family wishes to express their gratitude personally, if Maya is willing. Maya looked to Zathura, who nodded. Go, meet the people you saved. Understand the weight of what you accomplished. The Kryn family was waiting in a reception chamber, all 6 of them, 2 parents and 4 children, ranging from toddler to teenager. The parents rose when Maya entered, their chitinous features arranged in expressions of deep gratitude. You saved our lives, the father said, his translator rendering his clicking speech into clear standard.
We had no idea the protein was mammalian.
Our allergies are extreme. Without immediate intervention, we would have died in front of our children. We searched for you, asked everyone in the restaurant district who you were, the brave girl who ran when everyone else froze, the child who wouldn't accept our death as inevitable. The youngest Kryn child, barely older than a toddler in human terms, toddled forward and hugged Maya's leg. No words, just simple gratitude expressed through touch. Maya felt tears coming again, but these were different. Not fear or exhaustion, but something warmer. Connection. Purpose. I just did what anyone would do, she mumbled. No, the Kryn father said firmly, you did what most beings only claim they would do. You acted when action had a cost. That's heroism, young one. True and pure. They talked for an hour. The Kryn family sharing stories of their homeworld, their journey to the Empire as refugees, their struggles to build a life in a place that saw them as barely tolerated outsiders. Maya told them about the restaurant, about her mother's struggle to keep it running, about her father who died helping strangers. When it was time to leave, the eldest Kryn child pressed something into Maya's hand, a data chip. Our history, she explained. Stories of our people, our culture, our music. So you'll remember who you saved. So you'll know we're not just table 2. We're people with stories. Maya clutched the chip carefully. Thank you. The captain moved silently for a while, then spoke. I've been a soldier for 70 cycles. I've seen courage in countless forms. But what you did, Maya Chen, that was something different. Something purer. Everyone keeps saying that. I don't feel brave. I feel like I got lucky. Luck is what happens when courage meets opportunity. You made your own luck by refusing to accept death as inevitable for strangers you'd never met. He paused at a viewing port that showed the city sprawling below, millions of beings from hundreds of species, all trying to survive under the Empire's rule. The Empress meant what she said. You've changed things. Already I've received 3 requests from other restaurant districts asking for medical station access. Your actions created a template others can follow. Just from running to the palace? Just from refusing to accept that some lives matter less than others? Velnox's expression softened, something Maya hadn't known his species' features could do. The Empire has been built on hierarchy, on the understanding that some species, some individuals, some lives have more value than others. You rejected that premise completely. You didn't calculate whether the Kryn family was important enough to save. You just ran to save them because they needed saving. Maya thought about this as they walked. She'd never considered herself political or revolutionary. She was just a kid who worked in her mom's restaurant and tried to help when help was needed. But maybe that was enough. Maybe refusing to let people die when you could help was itself a radical act in a galaxy built on power and hierarchy. Her mother was waiting as promised, worry etched in every line of her face. The reunion was quieter this time, just long arms and whispered reassurances. The Empress offered me a job, Maya said quietly. Not now, but later, when I'm older. I would be so happy. What did you say? I told her I'd think about it. Maya looked down at the carved figurine and the data chip she still held. Mom, what would Dad have done? Your father? He would have run faster than you did. He would have broken through those security checkpoints without even noticing they were there, and then he would have asked the Empress herself for directions to the medical bay. She cupped Maya's face gently. You're so much like him, too brave for your own good, too willing to risk everything to help others. Is that bad? It's what got him killed. It's what nearly got you killed yesterday. Her mother pulled her close again. But it's also what makes you my daughter. What makes you someone who can look at the most powerful being in the Empire and demand she help Table 2? They went home together, to their new home on Level 9 that Maya hadn't seen yet. It was bigger than their old place, cleaner, with windows that showed actual sky instead of the underside of the level above. Her mother cried when she saw the fully equipped kitchen, the medical scanner in the bathroom, the school enrollment documents already prepared for Maya. She didn't have to do all this, her mother whispered. She said it was payment for services rendered. For showing her a security flaw and demonstrating moral courage. Maya touched the window, watching ships cross the artificial sunset. I think maybe she's trying to be better, and I made her want to try. That night, Maya lay in her new bed in her new room and thought about everything that had happened. 2 days ago, she'd been a nobody, a refugee kid whose greatest accomplishment was memorizing the restaurant's menu. Now she had the attention of an empress, the gratitude of a family, and a future she'd never imagined possible. But what struck her most wasn't the rewards or recognition. It was the simple fact that running toward danger instead of away from it had mattered. That refusing to accept death as inevitable for strangers had created ripples she was only beginning to understand. She pulled out the data chip the Kryn family had given her and loaded it into her new terminal. Stories flooded the screen, histories and myths, songs and images from a world she'd never seen. A culture that would have been erased if Table 2 had died. Maya fell asleep reading about Kryn heroes, ancient warriors who'd fought impossible battles with nothing but determination and honor. She dreamed of her father, who she barely remembered, and in the dream, he was proud. When she woke, sunlight was streaming through her window. Real sunlight, filtered and adjusted, but actual starlight nonetheless. Her mother was already up, preparing breakfast with ingredients far better than the ration packs they'd survived on. "The restaurant opens in 3 hours," her mother said when Maya shuffled into the kitchen. "New location, same name. The Empress's contractors worked overnight to move everything and upgrade the equipment. Want to help me set up?" Maya nodded, feeling purpose settle into her bones. The restaurant was home, the place where she'd learned that every customer deserved care and respect, where Table 2 had taught her that strangers were just friends you hadn't fed yet. They worked together, mother and daughter, arranging tables and updating menus and programming the new protein synthesizer that would never again serve mammalian products to species with deadly allergies. By the time they opened, a line had formed outside. Word had spread about the restaurant under Imperial protection, the place where a child's courage had changed everything. The first customer was Kryn, a distant relative of the family Maya had saved. The second was human, a dock worker who'd heard the story and wanted to see the place for himself. The third was a being made of crystalline matrices who'd never tried human cuisine but was willing to experiment. Maya served them all with equal care, remembering what her father had supposedly believed and what she'd proven in the throne room. Every person mattered. Every life had value. Every table deserved her best effort. Halfway through the lunch rush, Captain Velknox appeared, ducking through the doorway with the care of someone designed for larger spaces. He sat at Table 2, the table that had started everything, and ordered the special. "The Empress sends her regards," he said quietly when Maya brought his food. "She wanted me to observe how you operate in your natural environment, to see if the courage you showed in the throne room was an aberration or your fundamental nature." Maya set down his plate carefully. "And what are you going to tell her?" Velknox watched as she moved through the restaurant, greeting customers, helping her mother, treating every person with the same respect regardless of species or status. He saw her pause to help an elderly Vorgsian reach a high shelf, watched her patiently explain menu items to a confused tourist, observed her quiet competence and unfailing kindness. "I'm going to tell her," he said when Maya returned, "that she was right to offer you that position. That your courage wasn't an aberration, but who you fundamentally are, and that this empire will be better if it has more people like you shaping its future." Maya blushed, uncomfortable with praise.
I just work in a restaurant.
"You just saved a family, changed imperial policy, and reminded the most powerful being in known space what true strength looks like. The restaurant is where you practice these skills. But your impact reaches far beyond these walls." He finished his meal. The captain had excellent taste. He left a generous tip and a message for the Empress, and departed, leaving Maya to her work. The rush eventually ended. Her mother collapsed into a chair, exhausted but smiling. "First day in the new place, I think it went well." "Table 2 sends its compliments," Maya said, showing her the message Velknox had left. "The special was excellent. Tell Maya the Empress is watching her future with great interest." "Captain Velknox." Her mother read it twice, then looked at Maya with an expression of mingled pride and concern. "You know you don't have to accept the Empress's offer. You can just live your life, work here, be normal." "I know." Maya gazed out the window at the sprawling city, at the millions of beings trying to survive under imperial rule. "But maybe normal isn't enough anymore. Maybe if I can change things, help people on a bigger scale, I should try." "You're 11 years old." "I'm 11 years old, and I made the Scourge of 100 Worlds remember her honor. Imagine what I could do at 20. Maya grinned, suddenly feeling the weight of possibility rather than burden. Besides, someone has to make sure she keeps improving. Someone has to represent Table 2 in the councils of power. Her mother hugged her tight, and in that embrace, Maya felt everything: fear and pride, worry and hope, the desperate love of a parent watching their child grow beyond safety into significance. "Your father would be so proud," her mother whispered. "So would Table 2, Maya answered. And somewhere in the imperial palace in her garden of carefully tended growth, Empress Zathura the Scourge smiled. She'd conquered worlds through force of arms, but a human child had conquered her through purity of purpose. It was, she reflected while pruning an overgrown bloom, the most complete defeat she'd ever experienced. And somehow, it felt like victory.